Gentlemen, I hope you guys have been having a fantastic week. I know I have, and today I have a very fun video lined up. I have a bunch of gear on this table to answer a very simple question. If you could only have 3 survival items, what would they be? Let's get into it. So as you guys well know, I love having bug out bags, get home bags, inch bags, all kinds of little kits for overall general preparedness, right? I like just having what I need when I need it. But it got me to thinking, what if I could only have 3 items, 3 survival items to last me 1 week out in the woods? What would they be? So I designed this little challenge, right, to make you think and to make me think about different ways to use these tools. Because here's the thing, if these tools have to have multiple uses, right? Like if it doesn't have more than a singular use, like you're gonna have to find something else. And it's gonna have to stretch your thoughts, right? You're gonna have to be real resourceful here because each one of these loadouts has its pros and it has its cons. Now, to make this just a little bit more challenging, I am not going to include a multi-tool because, I mean, you get a multi-tool, you're gonna cover a lot of bases, and it's also not gonna include first aid. So with that being said, I have just a handful of general items. There's a couple items also that I think would be good, and I have as an honorable mention. You could include those if you wanted to. We'll get into that at the end of the video, but for now, we're gonna stick with these items right here. So I went ahead and made 4 different type of loadouts. I gave them each a name, so this way you get a general idea of the better uses for those loadouts are. I'm also gonna include what I would pick out of these items if I were in that type of situation. So let's get into the first loadout. This first loadout I call the scavenger. Now this comprises of a heavy meal trash bag, contractor grade trash bag, cordage, and a knife. This is a folder knife. This is a Kershaw. No, Smith & Wesson. It's a Smith & Wesson. Let's just talk about this loadout real quick. So right off the bat, what kind of comes to mind, right? Like with this heavy meal trash bag, I've actually done this before where I've used this to make my own little makeshift shelter, and it works. Like surprisingly, it works. It'll cover you all up, and in an emergency situation, I think you can use this as a makeshift shelter. I have heard that if you could only have 1 item, a heavy meal trash bag would be the way to go. I have heard that from some survival experts, but you can collect water with it. You can put leaves inside of it and lay down on top of it to make yourself a ground clearance so you're not sleeping directly on the floor. You can even strip some of it so make extra cordage, but you have cordage with you, right? Now, this plus the trash bag, you can make yourself rig up your own shelter. With some paracord, you can pull the strands out to make your own like little fishing lines, but you don't have any hooks with this type of loadout. So it's kind of like, we're gonna have to figure that out. But you do have some other options. One thing that I have seen is people use the paracord to put around the perimeter, right? And then you can go find soda can or empty beer cans, hang it up, and now you got yourself a security perimeter wherever you're sleeping. With your knife, I mean, I think out of all of these tools, this knife is probably gonna be the most useful. Like hands down, you could probably fit this in each and every kit, and it's just necessary, right? But with the knife, you can clean game, you can defend yourself, you can do some cutting, some building. How extensive is it gonna be able to go if you're gonna like bushcraft your way to success, right? Like, I don't know. Okay, so what are the cons with this scavenger loadout? Well, you don't have a fire starter. So while you can collect water, you're still gonna have to be able to filter it. You're still gonna have to be able to purify it. And you're not gonna wanna do that in the trash bag. You don't have a lot of uses for self-defense outside of just the knife. And you're gonna have to figure out a way to make and collect food, right? So you can gather, right? You can make your berries and stuff, but you can make your cordage to make a trap. But if you're not efficient in traps, that's gonna be kind of difficult. So as far as creating your shelter and being able to keep out of the environment, keep the weather off of you, this is great, but you do have some cons. Okay, so number 2 is what I call the builder. This right here is, I mean, when it comes to having a bushcraft, you can really get some things done with just these 3 items right here, right? You have a saw, a axe or a hatchet, whichever one you prefer, and some cordage. Right, like if you're gonna have to build something like these 3 tools, you can definitely make your own bushcraft shelter, right? With this axe or hatchet, it serves a couple purposes, right? Like not only good for building, but you can also use the blunt end for a hammer, and I think it also comes pretty good as self-defense. Not the most ideal tool for self-defense, but it would work, right? Like you swing this at somebody, they're not gonna be happy. Obviously, you're gonna want to have a fine edge tip. If this blade is sharp, you can really get away without having the knife because you have a sharp blade, but you also have to be very, very careful because when you're swinging this thing around, you hit rocks, you dull this edge, you're gonna have to figure out a way to keep it useful, especially if you're out in the field. The saw, really, I mean, this is a very useful tool, but you only have a couple of uses, right? Like you're gonna be able to saw. This spine's pretty nice, so if you manage to get a ferro rod and maybe strike like this, but otherwise, this is probably one of the more one-dimensional tools, but man, is it useful. Like I think you could definitely just use the hatchet and maybe swap this out with something else, but to be able to cut through trees and other things, that's pretty awesome. This loadout, the builder. And the third loadout, I call this the recon specialist. This loadout you can use to be, I think, very, very hidden, very stealthy. At the same time, be able to be seen. And so for this loadout, I have a Sawyer mini filter. You won't have to make a fire to get water, which I think is very, very important to be able to have a water source or be able to access clean water wherever you go. Next, I have a flashlight. This is a Phoenix LD22, my all-time favorite flashlight. I've had this thing for years. And a knife. Also able to use it for self-defense, to be able to use for any type of building, things like that. But being able to be able to see at night and be able to shine your light to wave down to help, right? I think it's just super valuable. And having illumination at night, I think is a really, really nice security option. Cons to this loadout. Well, I think we're gonna be having to get creative to start a fire, right? Like there's really no fire option here. So we got water, which is nice. I think one of the other cons with this loadout is that you're not gonna be able to do a whole lot of heavy work with it because you just have the knife. So when it comes to bushcrafting your own shelter, is gonna be an issue. And just having a shelter in general is gonna be tough with this one because you don't really have a large covering. So you're just gonna be using all the things that are out in the woods. But you can be mobile with this, you can be quick, and you have water on pretty much on demand wherever you have a water source. All right, for the fourth option, we have what I call the fighter. This loadout right here, you can really defend yourself because in this one, I've included a pistol. Now this question right here could easily make a whole video in and of itself, which is if you're in a survival situation, what kind of pistol would you have? Like that question alone could go for days. For me personally, I have this pistol, but if I could have any one pistol for a survival situation, I would take the Ruger 22 Charger. It's a small 22 LR rifle. I think having a 22 is just the perfect weapon for a survival situation. First, you might think a 22, like why would I want a 22 for a survival situation? Well, think about it, right? At first, yes, it kind of sounds like I want something with a little bit more power, right? But then you get to thinking about, well, I can't carry a lot of ammo. It's quieter than a 9mm or 45. I can still get to about 100 yards if I have a small carbine, and it's going to be very lightweight, so I can move around easily. So I think there's a lot of pros to having a 22 LR in a survival situation. The cons would be obviously the stopping power. It's not going to have the same stopping power as a shotgun or AR-15 and 223 or 5.56, but you get a lot more ammo. Think about just a box of 100, right? Like it's going to be this. It's going to be small. This maybe 2 pounds. I would have to weigh it, but I think it'd be pretty light. Versus 100 rounds of 223 or 5.56. Like that's a lot of ammo, and that's a lot of weight to be carrying around too. Not to mention you're carrying an AR-15, which is relatively light. But anyways, we can go on this conversation for a long time. I have the Ruger Mark IV. This pistol, I'll just show it. It's empty, free and clear, on safe. This pistol is really nice. I think if this were going to be a survival situation, this Ruger Mark IV is a great pistol to have for a survival situation because it's really accurate for a handgun. It's going to carry your 22 LR, and this is definitely one of the most reliable 22s out there on the market. And it's very comfortable, ergonomic to shoot, and overall I really like it. You're gonna be able to defend yourself. You're gonna be able to do some hunting for some small to medium-sized game. So you're gonna have food, which is really nice. Like the ability to be able to easily get and acquire food, I think is pretty substantial. Like compared to the other loadouts, like this is definitely gonna be a nice option to have. But you're also gonna have some cons. Also, I had included a knife in this loadout. Also another way to defend yourself, which is why I call this kind of like the fighter. So you can defend yourself and you can use this for some light working. And I've also included a lighter. So this way you can quickly make yourself some fire. So what are the cons to this type of loadout? Well, you're still gonna have to figure out a water source. Clean your water with a lighter by making your own fire. So if you can get water, be able to find a way to purify the water in a fire, then we're talking, right? Like now we're good to go. Now, before we get to my pick, I have 4 honorable mentions that I want to put on here that I think would also go really good in these 4 loadouts that I have. Okay, first is a metal bowl or metal cup. You can use the shine as a signaling device. You can beat on it to help make noise, to kind of get attention to yourself. You can use it to boil water. You can use it to cook food. You can use it as a digging device. Additionally, with the metal bowl, you can boil water in here with herbs that you can find around you if you know the type of herbs to look for. And you can make medicinal teas, which is great, and I think a huge morale booster when you're out in a survival situation. Next is a pair of gloves. Having a pair of gloves out in the wilderness, like if you have a bug out bag or a get home bag that does not have a pair of gloves, like you're messing up, right? Like keeping your hands warm, protected, being able to handle hot, dangerous items, sharp items with a pair of gloves is highly important. Like it's super important. So having a pair of gloves is on this list of honorable mentions. sheet of aluminum foil, a simple sheet of aluminum foil, can do numerous things. Just like the tin bowl, you can fashion this into a cup. You can use it as a signaling device. If you have a battery, you can cut a strip out, put it on the ends of a battery, and then you can use that as a fire starter. I have even heard of people fashioning these into arrowheads. The list of things that you can do with a sheet of aluminum foil is endless. And lastly, what I would say is probably the most useful out of these 4 items is a bandana. From first aid to gathering water, even putting in a stream, soaking it up, wringing it out, putting it in water, putting it on your neck if it's hot out, wrapping it around your neck if it's cold, using it as an impromptu tourniquet. I mean, the list of things you can do with a bandana are endless. So these are 4 other items that you could pick from that I want to hear what you guys have to say. Okay, so these are my 3 survival item picks. I got the axe or the hatchet, the pistol, and the lighter. Now, with this setup, this is what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to make my own shelter with this axe, which I'll be able to do. I want to have a secondary method of protecting myself on top of just the pistol. And then with a sharp blade, I can also use it as a alternative knife. I can use it to process some food, things like that. So this is definitely going to be on my list. The pistol, I want to be able to acquire game real quickly, so I can definitely know I'll be able to eat. I'll be able to shoot a squirrel, shoot a bird, something, so I can feed myself, and then I can also defend myself in a self-defense situation. And then I think what the most important is to be able to make a fire. You can make many fires with just a big lighter, and I don't want to have to rub 2 sticks together to do it. So I got the fire. What do you guys think? You like my survival picks? What are your survival picks? What are some other ways that I did not cover that you could use some of these items? I am super interested to find out what you guys have to say. That's all I got for you guys today. Remember, being extraordinary is a journey, not a destination. Until next time, be safe. I'll see you again soon.